Hello FPL managers and welcome to another video where we look back at Game Week 9 and look towards Game Week 10 and the players to think about maybe picking or even taking a risk on. So it's another crazy game week. I'll just point out that you might notice that there's no camera. My voice is sounding a little bit off. I'm just kind of fighting away a cold slash flu slash man flu at the moment. So I kind of just wrapped up here and I just do my research, and I just wanted to still make the video on Tuesday for people to have enough time to get all the FPL content out there and sort of inject it into their veins, if that is what you want to do, because at the moment it feels like it's a terrible thing to have. I myself have dropped down now to an overall rank just inside the top 2 million, which is extremely painful because I'm still looking at this side and I only played 10 people this week. I don't think it's a terrible side, but as you can see here, first I'll talk about my team and then talk about the crazy game week again in general. So, and it's another game week with such a low average score. I believe I saw someone post somewhere that it's the first time since the 2014-2015 season when the average score has been like below 40, 2 weeks on the bounce. So as you can see, Rico and Lundstrom, my two best players and my two cheapest players, is absolutely outstanding. 4 at the back. And for the second week in a row, the dream team has been absolutely incredible. You look at this. First of all, 5 at the back. Who said big at the back is dead. You've got Yanmat, who's at the bottom of the table, club. You've got Target with that winner, Villa, newly promised side. You've got a Bournemouth defender in there. It's just absolutely crazy. The only one that perhaps isn't a surprise there is David Silva, and to an extent Jack Grealish, but no one has this side. Do you know what I mean? Maybe Danny Ings is on people's bench or as a third striker, but and Alonso is in there now. I had mentioned him before. 3.3% ownership. A lot of people were backing him. I personally did on the stream on Friday, which hopefully I should be streaming again this Friday around 2 p.m. UK time. So I'll go into it. So Callum Wilson was my captain, Abraham Hez was vice. I was worried that was going to bite me, but it wouldn't have mattered. They both got the same points. They both blanked. In fact, my entire team basically blanked. Sterling got an assist, and that was it. The only reason you can see Lundstrom 6 points because it was a clean sheet, and Rico was bonus points. So I just did not get anything. In fact, I played 10 men. You can see Mahrez didn't make an appearance. Otamendi and Salah with injuries there. And it's pretty much a nightmare for me at the moment. So you can see we're going to the team. I've already mentioned before about the angle that I'll be going towards. It's looking like I could just do Sterling to Mane and then Cantwell I'll upgrade. But something I've been playing around with recently, an idea that I've been having, is someone who I will mention later on in my suggestions and recommendations, is David Silva. Maybe a Sterling to a David Silva mix, and then that will let me go from Cantwell to another player that I'll be talking about later on, and that's the return of Anthony Martial. You can see 7.5 million, and then that would allow me to go maybe 4 at the back. I still have 5 in midfield, and I could do Otamendi to someone like Robertson, so I'll still get my 3 Liverpool players in there, 2 pretty good City ones, and you can see I still have 1.1 million in the bank if needed. So that might be a team that I'm aiming towards, but I'm still, the one player that I'm always constantly scared of when I'm watching football is Sadio Mane. I know he didn't have a great game against Manchester United. They were dropping deep. Maybe without Salah it was more difficult, or maybe just Liverpool were off the ball in general. I noticed Alexander-Arnold was doing a lot of deep crosses to sort of no one, or just Firmino by himself in the box. But when I'm watching all of the football, I'm watching the highlights, it is Mane. It comes down to Mane. So maybe just Sterling to Mane is the move that I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. And that also does allow me to, I was also thinking maybe Wilson to Jimenez, depending if he blanks or not. But there are options there, but with the way this season's going, it's absolutely anybody's guess. So as we go into review last week's picks, so Tammy Abraham, I think, disappointed quite a lot of us, to be honest. We thought he was going to do something against Newcastle, but it was not a surprise that Newcastle were very strong in defense. They've done that away from home or against big teams. They did against Spurs. They did it at home against Manchester United, so it wasn't a surprise. But Hudson-Odoi, you can see getting a tick in the differentials with the assist for Alonso. And it wasn't just the fact that he got an assist. He does look incredibly good. I'm part of a FPL chat on Twitter now with a lot of FPL accounts in a private DM chat. And we're sort of been talking about the idea of tripling up on any team always feels dangerous. But for the points per million and the value of these players, it's so difficult to ignore. So we've mentioned swords and shields before, and the idea of a lot have Abraham, a lot have Mount, but not that many have Mount and Abraham, and a lot fewer have Mount, Abraham, and Hudson-Odoi. And with the fixtures that they've got, it could definitely be an avenue that we're going down towards. Without the surprise price rises that have been happening, for example, Kevin De Bruyne going up again despite only about 50,000 transfers in, and when he was injured he had hundreds of thousands of transfers out. Unfortunately, I've been priced out of that Hudson-Odoi Cantwell to Hudson-Odoi move at the moment. Also, we're going to unfortunately go past with Callum Wilson as well. We had two of the worst defences in terms of goals conceded and attempts conceded in Bournemouth and Norwich. No clean sheets or anything so far in the season. And then they go and get a clean sheet against each other. Absolutely unbelievable there between Bournemouth and Norwich. Could not believe, of all the games to be a 0-0 throughout that game week, you would not have said it was going to be Bournemouth against Norwich. You could play that game 100 times and you probably would only get one or two other 0-0s in that situation. It was crazy. And Jamie Vardy, Mr. Reliable, the stat buster himself, getting on the score sheet for Leicester. Doing very well. Again, it's not a surprise. I was listening to the Always Cheating podcast, and they were talking about how, if you've got Vardy in there, it feels like a safety blanket because he'll get something every now and again. That's why he's priced that way. But with the fixtures coming up and he's in your side, I would go into every game week feeling comfortable if Jamie Vardy was one of my strikers. And speaking of comfortable strikers, you can see Raul Jimenez coming back here. He got a goal against Southampton. Could have had a couple, actually, but unfortunately got VAR'd out of them. I'm not against the decisions, but the good thing is it's showing he's getting in the right positions. He's still only 7.1 million, and he is someone I'll talk about looking forward to the next game week as well. El Ghazi not getting anything in the game, unfortunately, for Aston Villa, who were very lucky to sneak that winner in there. Brighton, credit where credit's due. Even when they went down to 10 men, they were still trying to play nice attacking football. They didn't sort of cower away and just sit behind the ball. But unfortunately for them, Villa did pull it back. Grealish making waves now for Villa. A lot of people singing his praises. Personally, I'm not going to be jumping on that bandwagon for that price at the moment. And then finishing off with Callum Hudson-Odoi. He did do the bits, and he is looking like a very, very interesting target for I do believe he has gone up to 6 million now. I'll just check this one out. He is now 6 mil, but still only 2.5% ownership. Certainly someone to keep an eye on, especially with Chelsea's fixtures. They've got Burnley away, which isn't great, but then Watford, Palace at home. City away isn't great from game week 13, but still game week 14 to 17 still isn't too bad. So definitely wouldn't be getting off any Chelsea assets at the moment. And looking towards this game week, you can see that I've gone for, again, I cannot really suggest to avoid any players at the moment because I feel like anyone could bang. If I would have sat here and told you last week, avoid Daryl Janmat, you probably would have agreed, and then he's just walked into the dream team. So I'm not going to really suggest anyone to avoid unless I feel like there's a trap out there, and I don't think there is at the moment. I think anyone can get points from anywhere at the moment. Players to pick, though, I'm going to start with David Silva, who's only just in this players to pick side because his 10.8% ownership is almost a differential there at 7.6 million. He's had 4 double-digit hauls. He is someone I mentioned earlier in the video that I'm certainly interested in looking towards. City have 2 home games in the next 2. He's the 5th best midfielder in terms of points at the moment. He's started 3 in the last 4, and he's had 8 shots in the last 4 game weeks with 3 big chances. He took his chance very well from that assist from Raheem Sterling against Crystal Palace, and when he bangs, he double-digit hauls. And I think a lot of us, similar issues with a lot of City players is we're worried about minutes, but at 7.6 million, if he's playing, say, 75 minutes, I don't think that's a terrible price, especially with the points that he's getting. Next up, and he's staying in this side, two players are actually still here, Jimenez and Wilson, but let's talk about Wilson first. Still 14.3% ownership, he's 8 million now, he's back up to his original price. And he's blanked the last 2 game weeks, and that surprise blanking against Norwich, but he still managed 2 shots and 8 penalty area touches. Now he's going to go and face the league's bottom club, who are still stuck in a bit of a rut. That's Watford. But a hat-trick of blanks could see a mass selling of Wilson, however. So if this is his last chance for you, then I would definitely keep that in mind, because you might be suffering a price drop there. And finally, James Maddison, 14% owned there. So it's still not highly owned, still pretty good there if he's getting points for you. 7.2 million. A lot has been said recently about Maddison and Vardy. Good results from tough fixtures, and now they've got great fixtures up to about game week 18. He's got 2 goals in the last 4 game weeks, as well as 10 goal attempts, and he's on free kicks and corners. So he's good value, good fixtures, and an overall good shout. Sticking here as well, then Raul Jimenez still under 10% ownership. He's on 9.7%, 7.1 million, 2 assists against City with that Traore double, and a goal last week against Saints. I said earlier it could have been a hat trick, but it's still showing that he's in the right place at the right time. So he is similar to Vardy in the sense that he's a stat buster. He's highly clinical with 3 goal attempts, 3 in the box in the last 2 game weeks. And Wolves themselves had a rocky start, the Europa League hangover, but Jimenez hasn't been rotated, and with Jota injured or still not back to full fitness, he's even more unlikely to be rotated out. And he's also just a very simple and easy replacement for Pukki, and Wolves have good fixtures until game week 19 as well, so they had a tough start to the season similar to Leicester, and now they've got slightly easier fixtures. But if people are holding Pukki, they didn't want to take the hit, they wanted to give him the Bournemouth game, he is an easy out from Pukki. And I believe they're the same price, or is Pukki still 7.2, but it's still easy enough to do that. Or if you are giving up on Callum Wilson following this game against Watford, he is another good striker that you'll drop down to and actually save yourself about 0.9 million, which should be pretty nice to have that money in the bank. Next up, it's the forgotten man, Anthony Martial, 3.2% ownership, 7.5 million. He's back now after his game week injury, making a 6-minute cameo against Liverpool. He was an early season essential, Martial, and he could be back on the radar. If he slots back into where he started the season, you could be getting Man United's main striker, but in midfield for 7.5 million. The Frenchman had got 2 goals in 3 games prior to his injury, and with United facing Norwich, Bournemouth, Brighton, Sheffield United and Aston Villa in the next 5, he could be a great option if he does get back into the side. So obviously, you don't want to rush him in. He's been out for several weeks. It was a bigger injury than we thought. But, great fixtures, and you could be looking at United's number 9 right at the top for 7.5 million in midfield. So that's the reason why a lot of us got him in at the start of the season. And it could be the same reason why we get him back. And finally, 1.4%, 6.2 million frontman Chris Wood. The clinical Kiwi is in great form, and he's overtaken Barnes as the main Burnley striker right now. 4 goals in 4 games. And in my opinion, quite an unfortunate disallowed goal at Leicester. He clipped the heels of Evans, but I wouldn't have taken it away. I think that was... I'm a bit iffy on it, but nevertheless, 4 goals in 4 games. Could have been 5 goals in 4 games. So that doesn't take away from Woods' good form. So next up, they've got Chelsea, and then Sheffield United, West Ham, Watford and Palace. And they're sort of good teams that I feel like Wood could try to rough up. And in the last 4 game weeks, he's had 12 attempts, 11 coming from inside the box, as well as 5 headed goal attempts. So that is 17 attempts in total, which means he's had an attempt every 30 minutes, which isn't too bad for a striker who's valued at only 6.2 million. So just before we go, I just wanted to show as well, this is using at FPL Review. I think it's fplreview.com, but on Twitter at FPL Review. And you can put in your ID and it tells you, I think I did this before the Sheffield Arsenal game. And it kind of tells you where your team sort of should be and how unlucky you've been. You can see that I've been minus 80% unlucky. A fair rank should be around 320,000. If you would have done FPL based on the bookmakers, I'd be 75th or just under 76k for my rank there. In terms of expected points and goals and all that, I'd be inside the top million. So I just wanted to sort of visually show you how unlucky I've been so far. So if you wanted to do this yourself, this isn't sponsored, by the way. I just wanted to say that I felt I was being unlucky, and I wanted to prove. I didn't want to just complain and say I've done this wrong or I've made these mistakes, because I'll always come out and say that. But I did just want to point out that I did actually make some good decisions. I've just been, I think we all have, unlucky in some of the outcomes. So that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Maybe you can follow me on Twitter at RobWD90, and hopefully I'll see you on the Friday stream around between 12 and 2 p.m. That's GMT UK time. A few of you guys joined with me last week. It was really cool. It'd be great if I could see you guys again. I'm trying to keep it as a continuous thing. I hope we start getting green arrows and these premium players start banging sooner or later. Let me know how unlucky you feel you've been in this season so far, and any players that you think are under 10% ownership that you think could be season changers and help us climb those ranks. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, have a good one.